Hello, everyone. Welcome to Bright Future Friday. My name is Lawrence, accompanied by my good friends.
Manuel, my name is Manuel.
And my name is Tyler. It's very nice to meet you, and it's very nice to introduce myself.
Yes, and we are accompanied here today by you can you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Elisa Robin here from Diamonds on the Rise.
Yes, and she will be here telling us a little bit about her field, pathway she took, and just here to share information with you all for those who may be interested in her field.
Yeah,
So,
it's a pleasure to have you here.
yes, so thank you. So we start with a brief icebreaker. Is what are some things you do to relieve stress?
I listen to music. Um, I read books, and I go to sleep. I take a nap.
That always works. Yeah.
And by the way, those here, feel free to drop in the comments some ways y'all relieve stress. Now what?
Yeah. Well, to relieve stress, I tend to do calls with my friends or just hang out with them or play video games. That you know makes me forget about reality for a moment, and that's what I think everyone looks for whenever they're having issues and stuff like that.
hmm
Yeah, similar. Music also helps a lot. I just love listening to like piano music, any like music that just calms me down. And sleep, of course, you get some rest and refresh your mind. And just being alone sometimes to be left alone with your thoughts can also be helpful.
I love playing piano to relieve stress. Drawing, like I try to get my feelings out creatively. Uh,
Mhm.
Keyshawn says exercise, which I most definitely do. And since we're talking about health and mental health, a fun fact of the day is that thinking about exercising for a substantial period of time can influence your muscle mass.
Yes. All right, so Mrs. Lisa, tell them a little bit about yourself.
hmm I am the executive director and CEO of Diamonds on the Rise. I oversee programming, our youth wraparound supportive services of programming here in Baltimore City. Something personable. I'm a mom of four boys. My background is social work. I am a social worker. I'm a master's level social worker as well.
Mm. And how did you first go into the social worker field, and what inspired you to do so?
So with social work, I actually started in undergrad getting my bachelor's in social work. I honestly wanted to talk to people. I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted people to tell me about all their issues and for me to provide hindsight assistance with that. My friends tell me I'm a really good listener and I'm able to give them different alternatives. However, when I was getting my master's degree, I decided I no longer wanted to be a therapist. I still wanted to do the art of social work. I still wanted to provide resources to at-risk youth. I'm from Baltimore, in the city, Baltimore City, West Baltimore. I grew up like many of the youth that I work with, a single family parent household. I was actually the first to attend college. So first generation college. My mom was like a huge support for me. So she actually pushed me and said, why don't you just start your own business? We started with just after school programming and basic mentoring. And then it grew over the years into the level that we have now with still the nonprofit after school partnerships with several Baltimore City public schools. And then we also have a mental health side as well. And that's just how I got started.
Mm. Brilliant. And social workers, especially in schools, Baltimore City Schools, play a major part with interacting with the students or the people because mental health is such an important thing. What would you
Universal.
universal and what would you say is the most like challenging part about being a social worker?
The most challenging part about being a social worker is I'm gonna be real. It's the family engagement piece We here at Diamonds on the Rise, we work with a lot of youth, and we can work with those youth through programming. With the programming, we're providing them different resources and techniques to handle anger management, coping, linking them to different resources. But we also understand that in order for our youth to succeed, we also have to start with the parents. And a lot of times, as a social worker, when you're working with the parents, mom or dad or the grandma, whoever, they have been implementing different techniques that they have been teaching the youth for years. So to for me to come in and start teaching these other ways, not to say the ways that they have been taught have been bad or horrible, it can be
Yeah,
a little bit challenging because mom and dad have been doing this for a while and you're just new to this and they know about their own child or family. So it can just be a challenge or a barrier when it comes to that communication piece, that education piece when working with the adults of the youth.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Could
And
you say?
especially, oh,
Okay,
sorry.
go ahead.
Especially because oftentimes adults will think that you're trying to play the role of parent instead of them, and then get offended and get,
Yeah.
I guess, very overly. Um, what's the best way to say? They think
defensive,
you're defensive.
defensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yes.
and another thing as you were talking about, showing them like a new way. Not and you saying like the old way isn't bad, but it's
Mm-hmm.
always good to open up to new methods, things that you haven't explored. But some people, just block off, set up a barrier, so they don't want to accept anything new. They just want to stick to that old way. Not saying it's bad or
Yeah.
anything. Just being open minded is a major part of
Right.
today.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Speaking of open
Mm-hmm.
mindedness, I have a leading question to what's a common misconception about health?
Mm.
About youth.
About health, like a
I'm
common
sorry.
misconception.
It's the
Sorry.
computer's going in and out. I'm not sure if that's my end or your end. Say, repeat it one more time.
Oh, what's a common misconception about health?
About health.
Yes,
Um, so when you're saying health, should we say mental health or health in general?
I'll say mental health.
Okay. The biggest thing people think mental health, they also put it as someone's being crazy, someone who is just negative or bad. And what we try to promote and teach about mental health is really making it align, making understanding that you may your thoughts or your feelings may fluctuate. And that's understandable, especially in the type of world that we're living in as well, and the different barriers that our youth or families are faced. But you have to learn how to balance everything in life in general, not just with your mental health, with work, with education, and be on a level playing field with all of those dynamics. So with mental health, it's not always it's a bad thing. Oh, I have a social worker. Oh, I have a therapist. I don't feel like talking, but it allows one to get again different perspectives when it comes to um, the different moods that you may feel in, or when it comes to how to express yourself, and not that negative is a bad thing because you are seeing a social worker, or a bad thing because your mental health is off today. We all go through different struggles. It's just a matter of how do you handle that and how it will affect you or dictate your behaviors day to day.
Yeah, and that's the like sometimes like mental health is like just expressing yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not always like a negative. It have sometimes have like a negative connotation when really when you go talk to a therapist or go talk to your social worker, it's
Mm-hmm.
just an outlet, a person, a resource that allows you to express your emotions, because some people may have difficulties doing that. Either they isolate themselves and they just feel, or they can feel embarrassed to
mhm.
share
Mm-hmm.
their feelings with someone else. But social workers obviously have a key part by saying, I'm here to listen and
Mm-hmm.
take it.
Oh, I got a question. Out of after all the cases, I bet that there's some tough moments where you had to give advice to some families that were going through tough stuff. Has there been a moment where you yourself, after listening to so much, you needed some counseling? Because I've heard some experiences of psychologists that even need psychologists themselves. So, could you? Huh?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna repeat that again. So you're asking me, has there been a time that I've had to seek outside advice as it relates
Yeah,
to mental
yeah, because like related to your job, like thanks to your job.
health? Oh, so all the time. I have as the executive director, we're a nonprofit, so I have a board of directors. Every time work related, as it relates to families, policies, procedures, I always reflect to my board to assist me in ensuring that I have the sound advice. Also, if it's my own mental health, where I feel as if the world is on my shoulders today as I came into work, etc. Yes, I have someone as well that I talk to. There's a lot of social workers, a lot of therapists who have other social work friends to assist them because we don't know everything and we don't also want to be emotional about different actions. We want to make sure that we always have a clear and sound mind and also someone who you can vent to as well to provide you guidance.
Yes. So, with that being, what would you say is like the for people who may want to pursue being a social worker? What would you say to the youth? Like, what was your biggest advice for them
Mhm.
pursuing that field?
So social work is very broad. I would definitely say identify specifically what you want to do with social work. You can work with youth, you can work with the elderly, you can work with macro, just doing community policies. Identify specifically what it is that you gravitate to as it relates to social work. Um, also ask questions, ask other social workers, shadow people for social work. If I didn't start my own business, I probably would be a social worker in the hospital. I had an internship there, and that was one of the great internships I had. I learned a lot, and I actually like working on the mother baby unit. That was a social work task job that I had to do. And as you can see, mother baby unit is still with families and it's still with youth. So, which is something that I do now with Diamonds on the Rise. So I just find something that aligns with your spirit and the things that you know that you will enjoy to do that you won't be burnt out from. There's a lot of social work jobs that people just want to be a social worker for the title, or they get into different areas and then they become burnt out because social work can be a lot. So definitely find something that is your niche that you will love and enjoy waking up and going into that office and doing your duties.
Yeah, and that's very important. Not to just with any field, not to just go in it for the title, but to
Hmm.
actually be passionate for that title. Because when you are passionate for a job, it makes the although the experience is difficult, it makes it so much more
Hmm.
enjoyable because you actually
Hmm.
care about the things you're doing.
Now I have a
Hmm.
question. What's the most interesting thing about a part of your work? So something that reigns, I guess, memorable, something that you
So the
consider
most
that you love.
mhm. The most interesting a part of my work, I will always say it will be our community engagement piece. I love meeting new people, hearing their stories. Um, I'm just appreciative of what we do. That's the most memorable to me. Just making memories with our families. And when I say families, it could be anybody who comes in contact with our organization. It doesn't necessarily have to be anyone that is 100% enrolled in our programs and services. So that's the most memorable to me when um, we can have that fellowship piece and that community piece when we are actually given resources.
I have a question. Your job is based on helping, aiding, and giving advice to other families, people. But what's something that you have learned or well took from, or any advice that you have received from your job?
So
Something you
advice.
have learned in other words. Yeah.
Mhm. So advice or information or something that we have taken back, I'll say from the families that we work with, is kind of be empathetic. I'm not going to say kind. I'm going to say to be empathetic. I do consider myself more of an empathetic person when I have engaged with these families, because you never know someone else's story. You may receive information. For an example, we get a lot of referrals, and on the referrals, it will identify all of the weaknesses. But when we actually do an intake assessment and we are engaging with that family, we learn so much more. We learn why this referral came across our desk. We understand their family dynamics because we're going into their home working with them. So it's to be not to judge a book by its cover, and just to be
Yeah.
open and understanding of the families that we're working with, because we learn a lot from them. We learn how they communicate. We learn their triggers as well. We learn just different stuff. So it's just kind of being that open and empathetic to them as well, and not just treating them based on their weaknesses of, hence the need of being enrolled in our program.
Yes, that's a great thing about like a job. Like as you doing it, you just improve and learn things of your own, and just as you said, don't judge a book by its cover. Being open minded is very
Mhm.
crucial, especially in today's
Yeah.
era.
And plenty of different, once again, universal. And that ties to another question that I really do want to ask. What's a skill that you've gained and would like to improve on?
A skill that I have gained. That's a good question that I would like to improve on. Um, Honestly, a skill that I have gained that I would like to improve on is to do more of this, more open forum to talk about social work, to talk about Diamonds on the Rise, and to put the organization and our resources out there more. Diamonds on the Rise has grown a lot. I'm not a talker, even though y'all have me on your live show. Um, but I do not do a lot of speaking engagement pieces. And I would like to do that more. And when I have one-on-one conversations, or I'm working with the youth, I do well, and people gravitate to the organization and want us to come and be a part of different avenues. But I don't do that a lot, and I think that's a skill that I'm continuously to learn, um, to gain more insight, and something that I can continue to grow on and do in the near future.
Oh, I got a question. What's your method to cope with like the family? Do you go try to use like a humoristic way to like you know how people talk about their experiences and then try to like make it some way of humoristic so it cannot be as hard for them to like talk about it. What's your method to like cope with those people who are trying to get advice on you?
So how we I'm going to take it that you're asking pretty much, how do we communicate or engage our families to express themselves, to feel open to talk about whether traumas or any
Yeah,
triggers.
because it's not easy. There's been moments where friends of mine were at the psychologist, and the psychologist him or herself did something that like put a wall over there and didn't he didn't let go things go through, and that stopped them from like having that
Mhm.
confidence into that person.
One is to allow we allow our families time. So what I tell my staff is we have a process. For an example, I mentioned
Um,
we have referrals that come through, and then we do an intake assessment. When we do an intake, a lot of our families do not open up 100% because we're new, right? So
Yeah,
Mhm.
once we actually start having them come to workshops, we're communicating with them, then they start opening up when they feel as though they have built trust. Um, we allow them time. We also, when we do our workshops, it's not just me or any staff talking to them, because we can talk to whoever until everybody's blue in their face and they still will have that wall up. So it's
yeah.
through different interventions, it's through modeling, it's through role playing, and it's also providing examples. So I can give an example. Y'all ask me, what do I do
Sorry.
when I feel like the world is on my shoulders? Do I talk to someone else? So it's also giving that example, letting them know, yes, I too talk to someone else and I open up. I have a journal. So just teaching them other different techniques and characteristics of what you do. So then that person also feels a little bit comfortable and relatable,
What is
that,
fun?
okay, this person is not.
The recording is glitching a bit. Um, can you repeat a little bit what you said? Like, I'd say the 5 to 10 minutes before, not minutes, seconds. Sorry, seconds. It kind of skipped a few seconds. Could you repeat what you had said?
Mhm. So I pretty much was saying that we become relatable to the consumers that we work with. So
Mhm.
we demonstrate to them how to express themselves through role playing, journaling, and also providing our own examples. For an example, I would say, yes, I went to therapy as well because I could not deal with the stress of a
Yeah.
relationship or stress of the job, and I needed to get hindsight. So then that person or that family will also feel like, okay, you know what, Miss E is relatable. I can open up a little bit more. I mentioned I'm a mom of 4 boys, so I understand the hyper behaviors of different boys or when they're going through puberty. So I can be relatable to a mom who is who have children as well. So it's just kind of showing that you are empathetic and sympathetic to their relationship through your own examples, also while teaching the different interventions.
Yeah, what?
And first of all, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it tremendously. And I have one question that I think is a doozy to say the least. And I think that it's for whether it
Uh,
in
you
general
need to
as an
froze.
emotion or commitment.
Can you repeat that because it froze? I didn't hear
Oh,
any question.
do you see love, whether in work or for a person, as as an emotion or a commitment?
Love.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question. So I'm gonna say both. Um, because you have to, as far as a relationship and or work, um, you have to put your all in it. You have to love what you are doing. If you don't love it, you're going to dread every day. You're going to, do I have to do this? You're not going to give it 100% to the person or your work. And it's going to show through your work because it's going to be the word I want to use, I can't use. It's going to be half of what you need to put as far as your best foot forward. Um, as far as the commitment piece, if I'm loving what I'm doing, then I know that I'm going to be committed wholeheartedly and ensuring that I'm providing the best. So again, to me, it's 50-50, emotional and love. I love what I do. I'm at my office every day. People tell me, Elisa, you are the executive director. Why are you going into the office every day? Because how can I be an example to my staff if I feel like I'm going to work from home or I'm not going to do any work? So I'm committed and love what I do in that regards. And it shows through my work ethics.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you. We
taking
appreciate
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
time. I appreciate it. And yeah, just thank you.
it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stay safe, okay?
Have a good day.
Have a good day, everyone.
You do the same. Bye bye.
Yeah, I need my money, dog.
We're still alive. We're still alive.
I'm reading the comments, man.
Yeah, I need my dog. Should we do like talk about it? Cause
Oh yeah, if there's anybody in the comments,
there's
what did you
anybody-
think of the entire presentation?
I'm talking about the money. Like, if there's anybody who hasn't gotten paid, many of us haven't gotten paid either. But we talked to our supervisor, and she said that there's some issues with the banking company, but don't worry, your payment will get there.
Yes, you will be paid. It's flooded downstairs. It's flooded downstairs, and they're all working very hard to
Mm-hmm.
make sure y'all get paid.
So thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much.
But thank you guys. Y'all have a good weekend, and
We'll see you in the next
Stay
one.
safe, everybody.
yes.